Hey guys, and welcome to our 17th quarterly webinar. It's spring. I'm Matt McGowan. I'm the head of product and marketing here at Console, and with me is TJ.
Good morning, everyone.
Console's head of product. Look, guys, lots of people joining us online. We've still got people kind of streaming in through the link, so that's great. Whether you've been with us for 17 webinars or this is your first one, the process is still the same. We've got our Q&A button down the bottom right-hand corner. Please interact with that button. We've got a team online who'll answer any questions. If you see something you like, we like a shout out during the webinar. So that's always nice to know that we're hitting the right mark and hitting things that you're interested in hearing about. So Q&A button down the bottom. We're going to try and answer all questions while we're on the webinar. We'll take a couple of live questions at the end of the webinar. But again, if you've been on here before, the process is the same. We're going to talk about what we came and presented last quarter, what we told you we'd be building. We're going to have a sneak peek at some of those things, demo some of the really great products we've released, and then we're going to look at what's coming up in the next 3 to 6 months. We've got Christmas, so things are a little bit extended kind of beyond this point in time, but a lot of exciting things in the pipeline. Just a quick recap. I guess firstly, I've just got this little award. So if you're not using Console Go Inspect, highly recommend you check it out. This is a good design award. So a big shout out to our UX team, head of UX, Tony O'Donoghue, who's making cheering sounds over in the other room. But yeah, really great acknowledgement of a great product that we've built. So inspections, as well as, basically Console Cloud in the palm of your hand. So get around that product. Just a quick recap on our 4 pillars and how we view the product and what we're trying to achieve with the product. The first one, and it's really one of our guiding principles, is to help save you time. We love working with our property managers and our property management businesses. And one of the key things that we're always hearing from our customers is how we're helping them, automate lease renewals, automate their arrears, automate their invoice arrears, automate their compliance, delivering paperless inspections, all the time-saving things that we continue to build out that give you back more time in your day. So number 1, guiding principle. Number 2, just reduce the duplication of entering things into multiple systems. And that's just through really smart integrations. Second guiding principle. Third one, we'll be presenting this today. We're really excited. Anne's online, who is our product owner for Analyticsgsmå, which is really great. So we're going to go really deep into that product today as part of the demonstration. And, the 4th guiding principle is really to deliver market-leading tenant and owner portals and apps. Now, these are the front-facing parts of your business and the digital experience that you're providing your customers. It's something that we invest heavily in. And while we're not actually not presenting any of those products today, if you'd like a demonstration of some of those, great apps and portals, we really recommend you reach out to our sales team and request a demo. Okay, so this is when we were here back in August, the stuff that we said we'd be working on during the next quarter. I'll touch on it quickly because we're going to dive in and actually demo a lot of this information. So streamline bills management. It's been a multi-quarter build out from our team. TJ will be demoing that today. Customizable data. We've been in beta for those who don't know, is when we basically give early release of a product to some of our customers, who are used to adopting really, really early technology. And they help provide feedback and set some direction for where we should take the product before we release it to the broader audience. So we've been in beta for a couple of months and we've got some really great feedback, and we're just preparing custom data to be released to our broader audience. So TJ will be demoing that. Inbound communications, specifically email. This is something that, again, is a multi-quarter investment. So we're going to talk about where we are in that journey, what we're looking at releasing early in the new year, which is our first version, and just kind of share some of the designs and where the product is going to go over the upcoming quarters, just to get you excited. Analyticsgsmå, I'll be demoing this. We're going to go through some of the really great dashboards, how you can use it to forecast, how you can dive into the data a bit deeper. So we're really excited. That release will be going out either this afternoon or tomorrow to all of our Console Cloud customers. We've got some quality of life improvements that we're going to touch on, TJ. I think that I've covered everything. Just before we do get into the demo with TJ, I do just want to call out one thing. Data security, massive concern among the industry at the moment. And I just want to give you a quick reminder that anyone who using Console Cloud today, that we do have this two-factor authentication option that you can just turn on. So you can click on that two-factor authentication, just follow the instructions here. I personally use Google Authenticator on iOS. It's quite easy, scan the barcode, and then you'll get instructions on how to authenticate using 2FA. That was a little impromptu presentation. I'll hand over to TJ to take us through bills.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for moving that out of the way. All right, so first we're going to start with the bills workflow. So we're about to release this in a few weeks, and it contains several improvements that we've made to bills to streamline and make bill processing a lot smarter. And I do realize that some of you are probably joining for the first time and probably haven't seen the bills workflow end to end. So we'll actually do a deep dive into bills right now. So the first thing we'll take a look at is what's new. So I'm going to go into bills. I'll just make some room here. And in Console Cloud, the changes to the bills workflow screen are as follows. So we've got the new and processed tabs over here, which allow you to see all your new bills in one place and all your paid bills in the other place there. The legacy section should not appear unless you've got old bills from the payment screen that you still need to clear off.
So most people won't see legacy.
Most people won't see that. And then over here, we've got some quick filters that allow you to quickly filter this list based on the status of the bill. For example, if I want to see all my overdue bills, I can click on that at a glance filter, which filters my list real quickly. We also have additional filters down here as well, which allow you to filter your bills by date ranges as well as by amounts. And then we've got the main bill list where you can see all your bills, who they're paying, the properties they're for, who we're paying them to, the description, the amount, the due dates, they're all there. Now I want to draw your attention to a completely new setting that we've added to the bill screen, which once it's released will be available to all of you. So these settings here allow you to automatically set up Console Cloud to withhold property funds, which is what these two settings are for. And then this setting over here allows you to automatically transfer money from other properties when you're bulk processing bills. So let's just go through these in a bit more detail. So you can see I've got these two options turned on. With this one turned on, the system will automatically reserve money to pay a bill. So for example, if you've got a bill there that you can't pay right now, with this option turned on, Console Cloud will reserve the total balance of that bill against the owner's funds so that you're not paying out the owners when there's outstanding bills to be paid. This option here just allows you to override that setting for each individual bill. So those two work together. This option here is purely for bulk processing bills. If you have it turned on, Console Cloud will automatically journal funds from other properties to pay a certain bill. I'll show you an example of that. If you have it turned off, you won't be able to use that feature when you're bulk processing bills, but you can still manually transfer funds from each property, which we'll show you in a second as well. So let me cancel out of that and go ahead and add a new bill. So we'll go to the top, add a new bill. And the example here is I'm going to add a maintenance bill for an existing property. So I've got one here ready to go. So this is a bill for this property here. So I can now pre-fill the details. Now, before I do that, I'll draw your attention to something that's new up here. So I can add a bill for an existing creditor, and I can also create one-off bills in case you've got something here that you need to pay out to someone that's not set up in the system, like a creditor. Could be, for example, a tenant that's no longer an inactive tenant or a past tenant that you just need to pay directly into their account. You can do a one-off payment out of here as well, which is something that we also have in the old payment screen, which is what this new bills workflow will be replacing. But we'll go into this section here and create a creditor payment. And I'm going to put in the creditor's details. I'll start with the property first. So this one is 86 Gibson Crescent. Now you'll see here, the system will show me all available funds for this ownership. Now this owner has multiple properties. Now this property here may not necessarily have any funds, but I can see all available funds across all the properties in one single pooled balance right there. So I can see there's plenty of funds to pay this bill. And if you recall that setting that where we had override withhold, so that's ticked by default. So now that this is ticked, if there was insufficient funds, the system will withhold funds to pay this bill. So let's go ahead now and select the creditor. Now you'll notice because I've got an open maintenance request already for this creditor, I can now attach this bill to that maintenance request. So if I click on the view button there, that'll take me into the maintenance job. So I can verify that this is the right bill for this creditor, which it is in this case. So this is great if you have bills going in directly to someone else to pay, and they can now link the bill to an open maintenance request. So once you process this bill, the maintenance job will be closed at the same time. So we'll just go ahead and fill in the details over here. The dissection is pre-filled from your creditor, and then we can fill in the rest of the details down here. So this is a $200 bill. Now, we also have the option to charge any commission that could be set up on the owner for this type of bill. So in this case, for this property, we have a maintenance commission. So I can charge that, or this is actually a commission on the bill. So I can now charge that bill commission there at 5%, which is turned on by default, but you can override that if you want to.
So the point of that, TJ, is on this ownership on my PMA with this specific owner, I have a range of fees, and this is one of those fees, and it's just linking it all up.
That's right. And in this case, the fee here is applicable to any bill payment. And the same thing applies to maintenance commission as well. So if there was a maintenance commission applicable to this bill, you'll have that selected here as well. Now, this is where we've incorporated tenant invoicing into the bills workflow. So right now I can on-charge this bill to the tenant in this very same step. So we'll actually skip that part because I'll show you that separately. But this is where you can quickly create and issue a tenant invoice at the same time. So let's go ahead and add this bill. So the bill is now added, and it's there ready to be processed. So to process the bills, what I can do is I can just select all of them, and this allows me to bulk process my bills. Now, if I had this option to auto transfer when bulk processing turned off, which I'll just demonstrate really quickly, you'll notice now one of these properties has been unticked. That's because this property here doesn't have enough funds to pay this bill. I can still process that by going into that manually and then transferring funds from another property to pay this bill. Let's go ahead and show you how that works. So you can see this bill here is for $312, but there is only how much funds available? Well, let's have a look. Let's click on transfer, and you'll see that this property only has $78 available. There's a shortfall of $234. Now with this screen here, I have the option to now transfer money from all other available properties that this owner has, and the system will automatically just journal the funds behind the scenes. So let's say, for example, I want to take $200 from this property and the balance from this one. So you can see the system has worked out the differences there. So we've got 200 coming from there, $34.14 from there. So we've got a shortfall currently of 0. If I hit transfer and process, Console Cloud will automatically journal funds from these two properties into this one, and it'll be reflected accurately on your statements as well. So it's fully transparent. And then this bill can be paid. And that's if you're doing it manually, by the way. If you have bulk processing enabled, so if you have this option ticked right there, and then you process your bills by selecting all of them, hit process, Console Cloud will automatically journal the funds based on which properties have the most funds, and also by oldest bill first. So it applies those two rules. And you can also see at the same time, it'll close off any associated maintenance requests in one step.
Yeah, that's great, TJ. I think probably the call outs for me in this, a lot of this is being driven by customer feedback. So appreciate the feedback that we get through Upvote and through our service team. We're giving you the flexibility. You can either do it automatically, or if you want that granular control and being able to manage it manually, you can still do it either way.
That's right. So the last thing I'll quickly show you is the invoice automation that we've got if you're processing water rates and council rates. So this is something that's been there for quite some time, but for a lot of you that are seeing this webinar for the first time, I think you probably appreciate this little feature. So we'll go ahead and add a bill. And this time I will choose one of our Sydney water bills here.
Hey, TJ, just for people online, do you have to just load one at a time like this?
No, you can load a complete batch of invoices. So for example, if you have 10 invoices there in a single PDF or split up into separate PDFs, you can upload them all and the system will process one after the other. So you can see here, I've got one bill that I've just inserted and the system's pre-filled all these fields for me. So it's identified the property address correctly because it can actually use optical character recognition to read the information of these bills. So it's pre-filled the property address. It's identified the creditor correctly as well in this case. And you can see all the other options that we had when we added bills manually are available up here. Now down here, you can see the dissection has been pre-filled because that's associated to the creditor. It's filled in the due date, which is by default today. We can change that. The invoice number and the amount has been pre-filled as well. All we need to do at this stage is just put in a description. Now, if I scroll down, you'll see that you will get a prompt here if the property is water compliant. So for example, there's water compliance on the property at the property level. And also if the tenant is set up to be charged for excess water consumption, you will get this little prompt over here, just to remind you that you can now on-charge this bill to the tenant, which we're going to go ahead and do now. So I'll select on-charge bill to the tenant. Previously, you'd have to go into the tenant invoices section and then add this separately, whereas we combine that into this one step now. So the system will check to see if this bill has been processed already. So you can see in this case, it knows that the same bill has been processed multiple times, which in this case it has because it's a demo. And you can also view the potential duplicate bill just to confirm it. But we'll go ahead and add this bill regardless. Okay, so the bill has been added. What we're seeing now is the tenant invoicing process. So you can see we've got the tenant invoice section up here. We're now on charging this bill to the tenant. If there's multiple tenants, you can select which one is the correct tenant. And a new feature that we've also added is tenant deposit. So tenant deposit is something that's been there for a while, but the bills workflow wasn't aware if the tenant had deposit in trust. Now it does. So if there's any funds available in tenant deposit, you'll see that show up right there with the option to use tenant deposit to cover this invoice. So if I take this option right now, this invoice will be paid as soon as I process it. So, but I want to show you something else. So let me just untick that for now and scroll down to the bottom here. So you can see that it's read the water usage items from the invoice over here. So that line, those two lines there have been read and pre-filled for me under item 1 and item 2, as well as the amounts there. So it's put 8736 there and 4642 there. So it's pre-filled those amounts for me. I do have a few options now on the actual invoice. So we have a redaction tool, which allows me to quickly redact information that I don't want my tenants to see. So for example, if none of that applies to the tenant, I can just quickly blank those areas out like that.
So TJ, there's also already some redaction on this particular bill.
That's right.
System remembers.
That's right. So previously I have redacted the owner's details there and it just remembers that. So every time you process this type of bill, the system will remember whatever preferences you set here. So we've got the bill now set up correctly the way we want it. All I have to do now is just put in the correct dissection, which in this case is, let's select tenant reimbursement for excess water in both cases. We'll scroll down to the bottom. The due date is today by default, but you can change that if you need to. And we can also include the attachment. So what will happen now is the tenant will receive a copy of this invoice, as well as an attachment that includes the bill there with all the redacted info. Now, if you do have console pay enabled, which is our direct debit solution, you can also schedule the debit to be occurred at the same time. So it's just a nice way and how we tied console pay into the whole bills workflow experience. So you can see I can debit this, the full amount of this bill. Well, what the tenant is liable for. I can schedule that as a payment and debit that on a certain date as well, which then gets added to the direct debit schedule. But I'll show you what the final bill looks like. So you can see there's a summary over here of all the charges, what the total amount is the tenant is liable, and how much they're owed here. So if I hit create and send, the system will then email a copy of the invoice to the tenant with the attached bill. And that's the invoicing process completed from the tenant's side. The bill has been created and is ready for processing. So I'll just show you the processing part.
And while you glossed over it, TJ, if I had ticked that console pay option, the debit would be created as well.
That's
for the
right.
tenant.
Yes, the debit's created at the same time. So we've got the bill now ready to be paid. I'm going to hit process. And you can see it's going to create the creditor payment there. Once the bill is processed, it is removed from your list. And it'll go into the process section. And that's the bills workflow. So look, the major advantage of this new workflow is that everything that you do to manage a bill can be done in one place now, including creating tenant invoices for uncharged bills. And this entire workflow just allows you to easily track and manage your bills that come into your agency. The extra features that we've added here around auto withholds and auto transferring just allows Console Cloud to just completely manage that process for you using automation, but you still have, full control to be able to do that manually if you want to.
Just another one of the time-saving parts of the system that we've been working on. So, even just having the little prompts pull through of, what's chargeable to the owner, if the tenant's on direct debit, if the tenant's giving you some instruction that they can be charged on that direct debit, they're just all those little time-saving bits that, streamline the process and give you full visibility over, your whole rent roll.
That's right. The next feature we're going to show you is something that we believe will give you full flexibility to customize Console Cloud to suit your business needs. And we call that custom data. So we do recognize that a lot of you operate your agency in very different ways. And what we're excited to show you today is how you can create customized data entry fields for you to capture really anything in a structured format against your owners, your properties, tenants, contacts, and everything, and sales as well. So to show you that, we'll go into settings and you'll see there'll be a new option there called custom data. So this is something that's coming very soon. It'll be released in the next few weeks and it'll be available to all our premium customers. So under settings, custom data is the new section that we've added. And this is where you go to set up your custom data fields. So let's start there. Now, you can add custom data fields to these types of entities. You can add them to contacts, properties, sales, creditors, tenants, and owners. You can see here, I'm looking at contacts. And in this case here, I've already created some custom tabs and fields already there. But what I'll do is I'll actually go into a section which is completely empty and show you from scratch how it's set up. So the first thing we can do is we can add sections. And sections just allow you to group custom data into specific categories. So for example, if we want to add a new category under the creditors for capturing new information, we can just add a new section and give it a name, for example, additional info. And you can also give it a description as well. We'll just skip the description. So we've got our new section there. So the next thing we have to do is add our fields. And there's no limit to the number of sections you can add, by the way. So you can see I can add multiple sections if I want to, but I'm going to now go and add some fields. So let's say, for example, we want to add a bunch of creditor fields. I'm just going to add a couple just for demo purposes. The first one, let's come up with something called creditor type. And you can create as many as you want. And we do have these different types of fields that you can also add. So we've got currency fields here, we've got dates, number fields. There's a drop-down selection you can add in here as well. So I'm going to choose this one. as the creditor type. So let's say we want to add a new field that captures between two types of creditors, one that's the agency preferred and one that's the owner preferred. So I can add my options there. You can add multiple options as well. So up to 3 or 4, there's no limit really, but we're going to add 2 options here. So let's call the first one creditor preferred, agency preferred, sorry. Agency preferred. And the second one, owner preferred. So once I've created my fields, it's now added to my section. Just for kicks, I'm going to add another one, like max spend limit. Let's say I didn't have a good place to put this. I can create a custom field to capture that information. So we've now added my fields to the section, which is now under creditors. To actually use these fields, I can now go into my creditors section. For example, let's pick one of these creditors, and you'll see there's a custom data tab there. And the same tab appears on properties, owners, tenants, and contacts, and so on. So under custom data, I've got the section that I added and the 2 fields that I've added there. To actually put values against them, I can click edit, and I can see this is my dropdown that I just created with my 2 types there. So let's just put in some info and save that. So we've now captured the details in the custom tab, which is a great way for me to capture anything that I would otherwise store in notes. So it's just a nice way for me to group all of my information in a nice way. And especially if there's no fields for you to capture information that you'd want to use or store in Console Cloud, and you're not having to rely on external tools to capture all this information. Once all this is captured, we can also export the data now when you're exporting your lists. So for example, if I go into contacts, I'll show it here as a good example because our contacts have a lot of custom fields. So if I go into this contact here, go into the profile. Now this contact over here has got a bunch of custom fields filled in already, like so. If I go to my list, and if I want to export this information, I can just select my contacts that I want to export, hit the export button, and that produces a CSV file, which I've actually got open over here so we can see what that looks like. So you can see I got my contact there, and then all the custom fields that have been entered are also included in the export. Now, the last thing I'll quickly just mention is that this is fully controlled by user permissions, because we do appreciate that you'd want to potentially limit people who can see the custom tab, especially if there's sensitive information that you don't want everyone to see, and also limit who can export the custom data fields. So to do that, you can go into settings, go into users. And when you're adding a new user, you'll notice that the property manager type and the trust accountant type has additional options there. So in both cases, you can customize who can view the custom data fields, as well as whether they have the ability to export by CSV. So if these options are turned off, they won't be able to see any custom fields or export them. So look, to summarize, the custom data feature is just a great way for you to capture really anything about your properties, contacts, agreements that you would otherwise be using notes for in a structured way. And it just really allows Console Cloud to be tailored to your business needs.
I think I'll just add to that, TJ, especially to our big clients. So this has been in beta for a couple of months now. And for those larger clients who are interested in API, this data is also readable through our API. And in the future, it will also be writable through our API. So you'll be able to update that information through the API, as well as draw down that information from the API.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So the next thing we'll show you real quick is some of the improvements that we've made to notes management. So we've had notes for quite some time. We've had a lot of feedback from you guys asking for improvements on notes. So we've made those changes. I'll show you a couple of them real quick. So notes can be accessed from the notes tab on a property or a contact or even the agreement. So let's go into the notes section. So you can see here, I've got a bunch of notes against this particular property. You can see the notes in a nicely structured way. So you can also print this to screen if you need to. And you can also see the different types of notes that we've got here. So I can see all my notes against this property. Adding notes, really simple. Just click on the little add new note link there. And this is the new thing that we've added, which is a note type. So it allows you to quickly capture different types of notes, which can then be categorized in the list over here. So for instance, if I had a phone call with someone, I can capture that activity there as a note. And I can also upload attachments in here as well, which is also a highly requested improvement that that came from you guys. So we've done that as well. So you can attach notes, attach anything to a note in here, which you can then see them in the timeline over there. And if you can click on that, if you click on that, it'll download the actual attachment. And we've also got the pin notes as well. So for example, if I want to pin this note, I can quickly pin that there, which will put it right to the top. So it always appears. One thing I'll also quickly point out is the timestamp. So every time a note is added and edited, the timestamps will be shown that way. So you can quickly see when the note was created and then when it has been subsequently edited as well. So that's notes. The next one we'll take a look at is a new feature that will be released in the next week that we actually think will help you manage risk when it comes to communicating with your tenants. So I'm going to switch to a different office over here and just demonstrate this from my laptop. So this is our brand new SMS on email feature, which allows you to send reminders when you send emails to tenants. So we know that for a lot of you, tenants don't necessarily read all their emails despite your best efforts. And while the system does have read receipts to show you when emails have been delivered and opened, sometimes despite that, you need to make sure that you've made all efforts to ensure that tenants are getting your emails. So one way is to send SMS reminders to your tenants, just to remind them that there's an important email that they need to look at. So let's take a look and see how that's set up. So once this feature is released, which will be in the next week or so, if you go into settings and office, there'll be a new option down here called SMS sending, which allows you to turn on auto SMS reminders for emails. So you can see right now it's currently available for tenants, but in future we'll add this for owners and creditors as well, but we're focusing on tenants to start with. So this is a global setting. Once you've selected this or ticked this box here, it applies to all tenant emails that you send from Console Cloud. Now, you can also override it on a per contact level, which I'll show you. So let's turn it on for all tenants. So once you hit this, once this changes are saved, we'll go into a contact. Let me pick one of our tenants over here and go into that person's contact. So you'll see that there is a setting over here called auto SMS reminder for email. It's currently using the office setting, which is on in this case. To change that, we can edit the contact and you have three options there. You can use the office setting, or you can override it to always send an SMS reminder for this person or never send SMS reminders for this person. So this is great if you would like to utilize this feature, but you have for certain tenants, you don't want to send an SMS reminder. So you can turn it off just for them. But let's use the default setting. Once that's done, I'm going to go now into the tenant agreement and send a message to the tenant. And in this case, I'm just going to send a blank message to, for example, please contact the office. Please contact office. And just put a message there, contact the office, please. And hit send. So what will happen now is Console Cloud will send the email as per normal, but at the same time, it'll also send an SMS to the tenant, just informing them that an email has been sent. So let's take a look at the communications log. And you can see that the email there has been sent. please contact the office. And then at the same time, an SMS has been sent to the tenant with that message there, just letting you know that we've sent you an email. And this is using the SMS template that's currently set up in settings, which you can customize, by the way. Now, these failed because I'm using a demo environment, but that's an example of what they'll look like. And that will now show up on the contact timeline. So if I go to that contact, and go into their communications timeline, I can see the email was sent and the subsequent SMS as well. So this is just proof that you've taken all reasonable steps to notify this tenant about an important issue. So if you ever get to a position where you have to, dispute this with the tenant, you have proof that you've actually taken all steps here.
Yeah, and look, I think it gets sent from the tenant agreement emails. Is that correct, TJ?
That's correct, yes.
The intention is it's only those really important emails that are being sent to the tenant that they get a little SMS bump to go and check their inbox. So again, global setting, you have full control at a tenant level, and it's just one of those little value adds that have been requested by our customers that we've added into the system.
Thanks, Matt. All right, I'm going to hand over to Matt now to take us through Analyticsǃ.
Great. Look, we're really excited to be releasing Analyticsǃ. This is our second version of our business intelligence tool. And I'm just going to take you through it. So I'll come back to the slide deck and just talk to, what's been updated. But this is an example of one of our new dashboards. So this is a business-wide dashboard. And you can see here, I might just add a few more. Just get rid of my little filter there. Great. So the anatomy of these reports, I've got my KPI indicators up the top here. So you can see my number of active properties, my average annual rent, my number of tenants in arrears, which is quite shocking. And underneath each widget is the detail of the widget. So it just gives you a little bit more information. The idea is visually, I can quickly scan my little dashlets up here at the top and get an indication of where I sit. And then I can look at my little graphs down here and just see which way it's trending. So I can see here my annual rent actually sounds like a lot, but actually it's decreasing. I can see my tenants in arrears. I can see all my portfolios here. So I can quickly glance which of my PMs are struggling. And you can actually click on these, and I will in a minute and show you that. Lost properties year to date. My little widget's broken here. My gain properties, my average weekly rent, where that's trending. So the idea is indicator, trend, indicator, trend, indicator, trend. And I can do like some really cool things. I can just click on that particular portfolio, and everything else around that portfolio will change. So this is my Brisbane portfolio. I can see my annual rent. I can see that's just fallen off a cliff over time. You can see it's Bob's portfolio. I can see how many properties he's managing. So he's only got 283. Most of his tenants are in arrears. I can see some of the key stats around that portfolio: open maintenance, average commission. And again, there's my little trend. So indicator, trend. We're going to look at some of the forecasting in some of the other reports, but just to give you a quick high level overview of what these look like. This is my PM dashboard. So I can see all my leases ending this month. I can see my leases renewed this month, any inspections that I have, my vacate date, my properties vacating in the next 30 days, my tenants moving in the next 30 days, any inspections I have, any expired or periodic leases without a lease, my maintenance requests, my average arrears amounts. So I can kind of, again, just like look at these by portfolio. If I click on one of these, the rest of my dashboard updates. Just going to move this little thing out of the way. Just some of the recommendations I've made, current rent versus recommended rent. So I'm actually in a downturn market. I've made recommendations lower than the existing rent. Obviously, that's probably not the case at the moment. Most of these will be green and higher, and my current vacant days.
Yeah,
So,
I might just point out, Matt, so everything that you're saying here is previously you'd have to drill down into multiple reports to get all this information. So what we've done is basically consolidated everything that you need to manage your KPIs in one spot.
yeah, and look, for those who currently use Console Cloud and are familiar with our reporting platform, we've still retained all the filters. So, really powerful filtering to be able to, dive deeper into a particular suburb, for example, a particular portfolio. So there's all my suburbs.
And even office.
Yep, or even office. So I've got a multi-office setup here. I could actually just add all my offices in, and I can, if I'm running a head office or I'm running multiple offices, I can add all my offices in here and get all of my stats updated across my whole suite. So you can see I've got more properties coming up to vacate. All of these things will change. These amounts will change. Quite a lot of data to crunch, but that's all been updated. So really powerful filtering. And again, this is just one of our dashboards. So we've got a business dashboard. We can zoom down into a PM KPI dashboard. I can come to this report, which has lots and lots of data on. Again, there's all my active properties. I've got a map view of where my properties are. I can hover over this map. I can see how many properties I've got in there. I can see my average rent. They're just little hotspots to mouse over. I can zoom in and out. You'll see here that I've got properties all over the world if I zoomed out further, because I'm running multiple businesses. So that's really a really cool way to view. If I clicked on one of these, and I'll just find someone where, okay, I've got 10 properties here. If I just click on that little widget, everything else in my dashboard will update. So, it's a really good way to kind of zoom around your portfolio. If you're a bigger business, zoom around all of your offices, and just see, number of properties, what's vacant, how much rent I'm earning in that particular area. Again, it's crunching a lot of data. So you can see those 10 properties, the average annual rent's 28,000. Average commission flat fee and my average rental commission. You can see those amounts for that particular area. I'm just going to clear that selection. So I've got a bit more data to play with. Again, so as per the previous reports, widgets, detail, we'll scroll down. I can see my properties by type. So, I've got warehouses, townhouses. Keep coming down, you can actually see my property count and vacancies over time. I can look at my portfolio growth, my rent roll growth by portfolio. So, and just by clicking on these, it'll actually update all of the rest of the reports. I can see my average annual rent going down, and I'm going to call out a couple of things. So you will have noticed underneath each of these more detailed widgets, I can actually just zoom in by just using this little tool, and I can move it along to investigate over time. I can these ones actually have forecasts already on, so I'll just pull that back out. Actually, I might come down to,
yeah, that's a focus right there.
This one. So because there's enough data, let me just scroll out a bit. Because there's enough data in my data warehouse, I've been using Console Cloud for a long time. I've got a history. The system can actually come through and add forecast lines and trend lines. So if I just look at my average rent, just forecast information. So it's just telling me what it's going to look at, the evaluation period, how many data points there are, the level of confidence in the forecast. So the more data, the higher the level of confidence. just kind of scroll over here and just see where I'm expecting to be in, 2023. So you can see these dates, So week 1 in 2023. It's basically giving me an upper bound, lower bound, confidence level, and forecast value. So you can see at the moment we're trending down. Analytics is using that information to give me some insight on where that might be if I don't take corrective action. So really, really great. I'm going to just click on a couple of these. Actually, now I'll go into my lost and gains because that's a bit more information. Yes. So another report, and I will touch on some of the reports. So every report every report, not every dashboard, but every report, you'll have a visualization of your data, and you'll also be able to see a table view of that data. So, the table view is the view that lets you export the information, I guess validate the information, dive deeper into the information. Charts are great for seeing trends. This is my gained and lost. I can look here and just see, where am I losing properties and where am I gaining properties? So I can see a lot of my growth is coming from existing clients, adding new properties. You can see newly sold property that I won, something I poached from a competitor. So great report. Gives me a view of my average. Like if you just click on this little eye, you can actually see what each widget is. So just showing how much annual normalized rent I'm getting for these properties. So it just gives me a little value.
Also, if it's also a great place for you to look at to see how a particular widget works, in case you're trying to wonder how the calculation was made or what it means, you can click on the little icon over there and it explains what the widget does.
Yeah, and then I can come down and drill down by portfolio, like basically my net gains. So, Alex doing quite well. He's gained a couple of properties without losing any. Bob just seems to be losing properties. Nick's won a few properties and lost a property. So you start to see where your lost and gains are by portfolio as well, and just more detail. Again, it's to help you analyze the performance of your rent roll. Where are you winning? Where are you losing? To make decisions, really great decisions within your business. And just some performance trends over time. It's probably a pretty good one just to show you the PDF capability. I can actually edit my PDF. I might want to send this to my principal. I can blow certain reports up to make them bigger because, they're really important. I can print that report. I could send a table view of that report. Just leave on my charts. I can add some titles and, key bits of information. If you're printing reports out every month, you might want to just have a date stamp on that. And yeah, if there's people who you need to give this information to, then you can print those out or download them as a PDF and email it to them. That's lost and gained. Maintenance, again, I can see my trends. I've got my forecast turned on here to give me a bit of an indicator of what's happening in the future. I can move this little widget around just to drill in a bit further. I can see the number of requests I'm getting are going up. I can see my maintenance by status. So orange is new. And if I actually what do we got in here? Quotes. Requested. Okay. Actually, I'll turn all these other ones off. I think that's how it works. Yeah. So I've just taken off my new. If I just tick these boxes, everything, I'll get down to, basically my quotes requested and my work in progress. And I can just see where that's running by portfolio, which is really, really useful. Just more ways to view that data, which is quite good. Status by priority, and also a quick overview on where these requests are coming from. So my scheduler is just my recurring maintenance. So a lot of my maintenance is, recurring. It's on a little treadmill. It's being generated every month or fortnight or week. Maintenance being generated by my tenant app. So my tenant's submitting maintenance requests. Maintenance that's coming through the web, that my property manager's adding through Console Go, and just other bits and pieces that might have been typed directly into the maintenance workflow. I've got all of these turned off, so I'm just going to quickly turn these back on just to get a bit more data. Oops. Yeah, cool. And again, I can kind of look at my creditors and just see the status. So, you know, a lot of maintenance over here, unallocated. I can see Helen's Glazier got quite a lot of work that I'm sending her way, as well as Bob's Plumbing and the smoke alarmist. So if I want to dive into that information a little bit further, I've got my table view of that information. Just more analytics, guys. We've got more dashlets. Again, everything, you know, quick indicators. Obviously, most people will be managing their day-to-day arrears, for example, in the arrears workflow. So hopefully, you know, your stats aren't as bad as my stats, but it's giving me really key information on the performance of my business and the performance of my PMs. You know, I can look down here and just see, you know, some of my PMs, 100% of their tenants are in arrears. That's not ideal. I can look at portfolio and just see, you know, there's $210 million worth of arrears in Curtis's portfolio, for example. Now that's obviously a conversation I'll be having with Curtis. And just, again, all little indicators to help you really drill down into any problems that you might be experiencing within your business. Again, if you're using automated console workflows, this will not be an issue for you, but, you know, if you're not, this is how you would manage those bits and pieces of information. This one for me just brings it all home. This is a benchmarking report, benchmarking your arrears performance against everyone else in Console Cloud. So you can see here that we are actually, well, TJ is actually ranked, you know,
pretty low in the rest.
Pretty low. His average ranking is sitting around 2,571 out of all the Console Cloud customers, which puts him in basically the worst 3% of the book. So again, this is just where you can kind of sense check your performance against everyone else in the database. It's all anonymized. It just gives you a rank. It's, you know, the idea is to be, for this number to be in the top 10, top 100. It's a good sanity check to make sure that you're managing your arrears as well as you can. Guys, that's a really high level overview of analytics. I'm just going to quickly just flick here and just summarize it. We did not go through every single report. So these are all of the reports that are being re-released into Analytics available to everybody in the Accelerate tier. If you're one of our premium customers, you get all of these reports plus these reports. So you get the PM dashboards, you get the benchmarking. All of these reports will be available to you when we release this product in the next couple of days. Did I miss anything, TJ?
No, I think you captured everything. We do have a dedicated webinar coming up for analytics. I believe it is this week, later this week. So stay tuned for that as well, because we'll be doing an even deeper dive into analytics.
Cool. All right. Kind of running out of time. Future roadmap. I'm going to talk to this really, really quickly. Inbound communications, as I mentioned earlier, it's a multi-quarter project. We're going to have a look at a quick sneak peek of what we're going to release as version 1 and what we're anticipating to release in version 2 of that product. Advanced tasks, again, based on your feedback. We've got a lot of great feedback on tasks and, you know, how we can help supercharge those tasks to make them more effective for you. We've got our lease renewal. We've got another version of that workflow coming up that, again, will make that process even better. Console Go, especially Go Inspect, which is our inspection app. We've got templates coming. So if you're doing the same types of properties, if you're a residential unit manager, for example, and you know, most of the units you're using are the same, we can give you templates to start tracking that. Tasks, ability to edit, view, add, view, and edit within the app. route mapping for inspections and canned comments, and commercial, which we'll talk about when we come back early in the new year. A whole bunch of enhancements planned. We'll just quickly talk to this. It's kind of on a joint roadmap. So as many of you are aware, Console was acquired by Reapit, our sister company, AgentBox. There's a lot of work happening between the two businesses to, basically bring these products together. Our vision is that we deliver a great experience to agencies managing both property management and sales. We've started some research. That research has been with a lot of joint customers. And these are the things that they've asked us to investigate within our system. How can you help transfer the right information between my sales part of my business and my property management part of my business so I never miss a sale off my rent roll, and vice versa? How can you facilitate transfers of data so that I never miss a management from a sales transaction to an investor? How can I have SSO across systems so I'm not managing multiple logins? How can I have a dashboard across my whole business that shows me my sales and property management performance? And obviously Analytics is a big contributor to that. And Activity Sync. How can I make sure that information that's critical at a contact level is being shown in both systems? So it's a research piece at the moment. We've got a survey going out next week. Love you guys to participate. Work will commence early in the new year on that. And it's a multi-quarter project. So is there any other comments, TJ, that I've missed on that one?
No, I think you covered everything.
All right. Should we do some sneak peeks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Inbox, or messages, as we're calling it. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So this is version 1. Just because we're getting really close for Christmas, we don't tend to do our larger product releases before Christmas. This will be something that's released in the new year, once we're happy with where it sits. But this will be V1 of messages. So it'll consolidate my SMS and email. I will be able to see all of my inbound messages, whether it's an SMS or an email. So a message will come in, it'll be timestamped. I'll have the from and to addresses. These are little pills that I can click on to filter between SMS and email. Quite a basic start. Any attachments that are coming through on those emails will also be available to me. And all of this information will be attached to the contact timeline. So an inbound comms comes back in, as well as seeing it in a consolidated view. You'll also have that information attached to the contact timeline. And you'll be able to print out the full correspondence history. So version 1, expected early in the new year.
Probably worth mentioning, Matt, that any replies that you send from Console Cloud will come in here and you'll see it in the timeline. So if you scroll down, for example, you can see the full chain of communications. And more importantly, if the replies are also going into your own mailbox. So for example, here we'll have a copy going into Console Cloud. And then there's also copies going out to your own email inbox. So you can manage the communication in both places.
Yeah. Okay. So that's version 1. Version 2 talks more to the vision of where messages is going. So this will be middle of the year. But just to get you excited, we'll have, if you're using Console Cloud at the moment, you'll be very familiar with our little filters. So it looks like our workflow filters. Up here, there's some other things for you to do. So, if an email's come in and we haven't been able to attach it to a contact record, we'll be asking you to review it and either delete it or assign it to a contact record. Anything that needs to be printed because someone doesn't have
an email address.
Yeah. And anything that failed will be up here. Again, you'll be able to filter by email, SMS, if it's from someone unknown, if it's from an owner, if it's from a tenant, if it's from a creditor. It has an attachment. So these are nice little filters. You'll see all your correspondence. Again, very similar to what is in version 1. But version 2, this next screen is really where we're investing. Workflows, like workflows are the engine room of Console Cloud. It's where the productivity gains for your business. It's the thing that frees you up as a property manager to have more time, so you're not working on weekends. And one of the things we've realized is a lot of the workflows either originate or have links back to email. So the investment really is around the context of an email. So an email comes in, we're going to give you the ability to link that email to an existing workflow or create a workflow from the email. We're going to give you the ability to add notes around the correspondence. So everyone in your office knows what this email is about. If you've had subsequent phone calls, you know, all the context around that email is what we're investing in. If you need to create a task from the email, we're going to let you also do that. So we're really excited. You know, we've been obviously talking to our customers about this for the past 6 months. These are battle tested designs. And I think our product and UX teams have done a great job in really crystallizing the vision for where this is going to go. And again, if you remember the first slide, it's all about how do we keep streamlining your workflow? How do we take the busy work away? You'll be able to reply from within this inbox. Is there anything I missed, TJ?
No, you covered everything, Matt.
Cool. What else are we sneak peeking?
We'll give you a sneak peek into something that we've been working on for a little while now, which is updating our owner statement templates. So we did get a lot of feedback from you when we released the new financial year statement layouts, very positive feedback. And a lot of you have asked rightfully for the same layout to be applied to the monthly statements. So that's on the way. And here's an example of what that looks like. So here's the owner statement, and you will see that it has the same design treatment as our financial year statement. So we've got the summary page right in the front. So you can see the summary of the income and expenses and the amount that will be paid out to the owner. We'll see the breakdown of the properties as well. So in this case, this is a multi-property statement, and also the breakdown of the payments to the owner as well. So that's the example of what the first page looks like. And then the subsequent pages in the statement will have the individual property breakdowns. So this is the first property, the full details for that property, the owners, the tenants, and then each line item for income and expenses as per the current statement layout. The last page of the statement will have just the summary of any withholds against this property or ownership, and then also the owner payment splits. So it's just a really nice looking layout now on the owner statements, and that's something that'll be coming very soon as well. And it just ties up the look of all our statements now, so they all look pretty similar. And that's the end of our sneak peek.
Thanks, TJ. We've really gone over time. Let's just take a couple of those questions that you've got on I can see that have popped through the messages there.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm just going to go through, there's a couple here that I can see that we can probably answer right now, which is, so you guys haven't demoed anything around commercial today. Is that being worked on currently? Look, I can take that one. So commercial is something that, we've been working on. At the moment, we're working on foundational things that is actually really hard to demo in a webinar environment. But as Matt showed you in the roadmap slide, which is back here, we do have work underway to improve the commercial functionality in the product. So we're focusing on, addressing the needs of existing commercial clients. And we've got some advanced features coming up that tackle the needs of other commercial clients using other systems that are waiting to come onto Console Cloud. So I think we'll be in a better position probably in the next webinar to showcase some of those things. So, so stay tuned. Exciting things coming there. There's one question here, Matt. Messages looks great, but why would you use it over like Gmail or Outlook, for example?
Yeah, okay, good question. Again, it's the context. So the idea on messages in cloud is really, email is still a little bit of, the black hole in property management. So as we start to capture communications back and forward between, owners and tenants, we can actually start automating certain parts of these workflows. So we want to get that information. We want to tag that information. We want to report on that information through Analytics+. just to see where you're spending your effort around the property and how we can help you, kind of remove some of that communication burden. I think the key value prop is just around the context of each email. So being able to link it to a workflow, being able to create a task from that email. And also, people are away, like having the context around those communications, being able to pick up an email on behalf of one of my colleagues within my office is really valuable.
Thanks, Matt. Look, there's a bunch of other questions here as well, but I think we might wrap it up there since we've gone over time.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. A lot to talk about. Thank you very much. That's the 17th webinar in the can. This recording will be tied up and emailed out to everybody for their review in the next 24 hours. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.